I want to talk about a customer avatar. And you may have heard about a customer avatar. I'm going to present it to you in a very different fashion, probably different than what you've heard of before. And that's really understanding like the customer journey, like where are people at in the learning phase? Because I feel that we really approach investors the wrong way. We're really excited. We want them. Okay. So we're excited. We're hopeful we can get our investors in, and we just kind of go for the kill. And it doesn't really work that way. We don't purchase that way. We don't invest that way. We need to understand how that works. So I'm going to get my screen sharing up here. There, present full screen. We'll do present review. Let me get my screen sharing up. So I think I'm recording. All right, got it. All right. So like I said, we're going to do today, we're going to talk about like customer avatar, but more specifically the customer journey. So I want to make sure the chat is working really quick. So can you tell me, are you familiar with like a customer avatar or an ideal customer avatar? Can you put in the chat just a yes or a no? Like, yes, I know what an avatar is. No, I don't. I just kind of want to understand of, how deep do I go into just the basics of a customer avatar, or if you're like, I already know about avatar, but that's what we're going to do. Let's start off with this idea of a customer avatar. I think of an LP. Okay, not sure, so I'm going to go with no. Perfect. I appreciate the honesty there. All right. So before I go like deep into this idea of a customer avatar, and that's really a marketing term, and so I'll do my best to phrase it when in the sense of like a investor avatar. So Tim, you're right. It's a LP, limited partner. And Shelly, I'm not really sure, so I'm going to go with no. I appreciate the honesty there. And an avatar. From the sense of a marketing standpoint, avatar is the person who is going to be buying your product. So you have to think of it like if you're going to you have a toy store, okay? Who is your ideal avatar for a toy store? Who is it that's gonna get toys? So help me out in the chat here. Doctor looking for tax. Okay, Tim, you're a little bit closer there. So let's think of a toy store. I want to see in the chat who is the ideal avatar, who is the ideal client, the person who you want to sell to at a toy store. I'd like to see in the chat. What are your thoughts? Toy store. Who is your ideal avatar for a toy store? Parents. Exactly. Okay. Kids. That's another good one. Another good one. So as a marketer, we have to decide who do we want to get ads for? Like, how do we attract people? And a toy store is an interesting one because the kids are the one who want the toys, but who actually makes the purchasing decision? It's the parents. And that's where, sometimes it gets a little bit tricky. But so now I'm going to take this a little bit further. So the kids are always going to want the toys, but as a general manager for carrying products, when we think about the toy store, when is a parent going to go buy a toy? Is it because they saw an ad like, I'm just going to go buy a toy? Or are they more likely to buy because of some type of event, meaning a birthday, Christmas, something like that? Okay. So the parent has to make a decision of when they're going to buy, and they're not going to buy all of the time. So as a marketer, what we need to do is we need to make the parents aware of the fact that we have a store in the first place, right? So when it's time for them to buy, they know where to go. It's really kind of as simple as that. And in the world of raising capital, it's the same idea. Not everybody's always ready to invest all of the time. Not everybody even knows that they can invest in multifamily. So maybe you're a new toy store that's opened up. And the irony of this example is I was driving down the freeway the other day and I saw a Toys R Us. And do you guys remember Toys R Us? Can I see in the chat? Like who remembers this the toy store Toys R Us? So we used to have, I do, right? So I remember Toys R Us, and I was driving down, I looked over and I Toys R Us, and I thought to myself, I had no idea Toys R Us even existed anymore. And then looked at the store a little bit longer, and I saw that it was closed. I was like, okay, well, everything's on Amazon now, and times have changed. So that's kind of the irony of using the toy store as an example. Going back to the point, as a purchaser, as a buyer, or as an investor, if there's a new toy store that opens up or it's a new restaurant, you have to make people aware of the fact that you have a new store. So you have to, does the store even exist? I didn't even know about it. I got to make somebody aware. And then I have to keep them aware long enough that when they're ready to buy something, they're going to choose me over other people. Okay. So there's a couple things going on here at play. One is who's your ideal avatar? And number two is where are they at in their journey? So, and that's where as capital raisers, and I want you to think of yourself as a marketer. Okay. If you're going to be raising capital, you need to put on this hat that says, I actually do marketing and sales. That is really what you're doing when you're raising capital. Okay. So, what I'm teaching you today is how to think more like someone in marketing and sales. That's what we're going to do. So, I'm going to share with you some strategies of how to figure out who your ideal avatar is, but more importantly, where are they at and how do you meet them where they're at and move them along the path. Okay. Does that sound cool? You guys cool if I do that? Show you, talk to you guys about how to figure out who your ideal avatar is, but more importantly, how do you meet them where they're at and move them along and get them actually to the point where they're ready to invest? All right. So here's what we're going to do. Now that you have an understanding of what we're talking about, an ideal avatar, this is going to be your investor. And what we really want to do is get specific. So I'm going to show you at the end how we can get really specific. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you another custom GPT today. And this is what I really like a lot. This is a very smart custom GPT. What I'm going to show you in the presentation, this custom GPT is actually going to spit all of it out for you. You're going to have to answer a number of questions, but it's actually going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you when it comes to defining your ideal avatar. All right. So let's get to the next slide here. So what we want to do today is we're going to talk about this idea of a customer journey. Okay. Understanding the path to conversion, or I want you to think of that like understanding the path to get someone to invest, or heck, invest 2 or 3 times. So there's this idea of what we call an investor journey. And that really is the foundation of the successful path to capital raising. What we do here is there's 5 stages of the customer journey. I'm going to break those down into a lot more detail. So you have the first stage is unaware. Okay. These are people who have no idea of the fact that they could even invest in something like multifamily or storage or mobile home parks. Okay. They have no idea. There are people who are problem aware. These are people who are like, yeah, I got some type of investment problem. I don't know what my options are. Then you have people who are solution aware. All right, I know what some of my options are. Like I know I have options. Then you have people who are product aware. Right? Again, think of like there are toy stores that are out there. Now I know what toy store it is, and now I know what product it is I want to get. Okay, so we're literally, yes. So Tim, I think you said W-2 with a 401k, doctor looking for tax benefits. Okay, that is great. My question to you is, where are they at? Are they unaware? Are they problem aware? Are they solution aware? Are they product aware? Are they most aware? And depending where they're at, you have to speak to them differently. Okay. And that's where I think we miss the mark as marketers, capital raisers, is we don't really know who we're talking to. And sometimes the way we talk, we attract them in the wrong stage. And I'm going to try to crack that code for you today. So to do that, what I want to do is I'm just going to go over these stages of the customer journey. I'm going to explain these to you in more details, and we're going to work up to, now that we have that understanding, let's go build our ideal avatar. Okay. And I'll talk to you about my ideal avatar as well. I'll go into a lot of explanations as to why I have this as my ideal avatar. But okay, so there are 5 stages of the customer journey, or what we would call 5 stages of awareness. Okay. And so let me walk you through these. The first stage is really you're unaware. This is you don't even know that you have an issue. Okay. This is before you even know you have a problem. So this is when a potential investor doesn't yet realize there's a better way to grow wealth outside of the stock market. Your focus here is to really spark curiosity through stories or financial insights. Your goal is to get them to pause and think, maybe there's another path. Okay. So I want you to think about this. The people who you're going to be reaching out to, where are they at in their journey? And your job is to meet them where they're at. Okay. So this is the first stage. Understand that there's a lot of people out there who are very unaware. When they are unaware, in order to get them to invest in your deal, they've got to go through unaware to problem aware to solution aware, product aware. Okay. They've got to go down this path. But there are people who are, think of yourself before you were in any type of multifamily investing program or whatever your program is. So think of yourself. You didn't even know you didn't even know you had a problem. Then you have problem aware. This is the next stage. So now you have someone who's an investor, they starting to feel some pain, some market volatility in the stock market. Maybe they got some poor returns. They got some, tax stuff that they don't want to deal with, pay less in taxes, but they don't really know what to do. So your goal is to help them name that problem, like really understand like what that problem is and begin helping them search for solutions. This is where you start to come in and you provide educational webinars. You maybe provide some videos, some guides that's going to help them like understand like, okay, like I'm starting to see what's going on here. Okay. You're moving them down the path. And then once they're aware of their problem, then you can help them figure out solutions to solve their problem. That's a different conversation. So, solution aware, this is the point where the investor starts to understand that real estate or maybe passive investing could solve their problem, but they aren't really sure who to trust. Okay. So, they're going to go from, I don't have any problems in the stock market to, man, I'm starting to have some problems in the stock market. Where do I put my money? And when they're problem aware, so that they realize they have a problem, and solution aware is they're looking for a lot of different things. Okay. They're looking for single family. They're looking for fix and flips. They might be looking at Bitcoin. They might be looking at Airbnb. They might be looking at a lot of different things, right? So they're just trying to solve a general problem. When I say general problem, the problem here at this stage is so maybe the stock market's going along great, everything's good. I don't have a problem. Then all of a sudden, someone does a tweet or an X, whatever you want to call it. Boom, there's volatility. Or the Fed does something crazy and stock interest rates change. And ooh, there's something crazy. I have this problem. What am I going to do about it? So then they start going on this path of discovery. Okay. And this really, I'm going to be honest with you, this is your opportunity, right? To find people who are looking for a way to solve their problem to say, hey, did you know that there's these different ways to solve a problem? This is just general education, okay? At this point, the way you're communicating does not have to be invest with me. You need to look at this as you're solving this problem. Solve this problem first, okay? They're looking at other things. How does how does investing passively in some type of apartment deal solve that problem? How can it outperform this? Okay. So now they are aware there are solutions. And what you want to try to do is make them product aware. That it means they know about you. Okay. They've gone from I didn't know I had a problem to man, this sucks to I've got to solve this problem. Now, hey, guess what? Here I am. Did you guys know I even existed? So now the investor knows you and about your track record. They may have invested in another deal or they're getting ready to. And when I say even other deal here, this could be some type of, something else in real estate. Okay. Right. There's a whole pool of people who have decided they've gone through this and like, I'm going to put my money into real estate. But your goal at this point is to make them aware of you. Okay. They may have invested, like they may have invested once, but your goal is to strengthen trust through consistent updates, performance reports, and clear communication. This is where you're building that relationship with them to get them to know, like, and trust you. You are the product in this case. And then the last stage of awareness is most aware. Okay. And these are investors who've achieved good results and they are now advocates for you and your brand. They're proud of their returns. What you want to do here is encourage them to refer friends, attend other events, and share testimonials publicly. But why do I share all this with you? It's because when you are out there having conversations, you need to think to yourself, where is this person at in their journey? Because it's hard for me to go to someone who's unaware and say, hey, I've got a deal and it's going to give you a double digit average annualized return. It's got a 2.1 equity multiple and an average IRR of 19.8%. this person is going to look at you like you're crazy. Okay. I don't know. Has anybody ever had that happen to you before where you're like, oh man, you're just like, you're so excited about what you're doing. You're rattling off like you got this deal, everything's great. And the person just has like glossed over eyes. Like, the hell are you talking about? Okay. So that is why it's really important to understand. Not only do you need to know who your avatar is, and so Tim, that might be your doctor looking for tax benefits, but where are they at? Okay. So in your case, you said they're looking for tax benefits. So they are problem aware. You need to think, how do you get them to be solution aware and then product aware? And your goal is to just get them to be in love with you and your product. Okay. All right, Jay, you're in. Good. Okay, so the summary of this is you have a person, and how are we finding these people? They could be at networking events, or a lot of this is through social media, word of mouth. But what you need to understand is when you're having a conversation, you can't just come out of the gate and try to get people to straight invest in your deal. And I think we do this wrong, especially when we're first getting started. We speak to people like they're already here. So what I'm sharing with you is what you really want to do is figure out how to speak to people here and here and here and here. Or maybe there's a different way to think about this. If you're out there and you're looking for investors, would you rather attract people who are unaware, problem aware, solution aware, or product aware? Can I see in the chat, where would you, where if you had to just go get people today, like, hey, you know what, if I could pick I have my ideal avatar, but where are they at in their journey? Would you prefer to have people who they don't even know what, like, so we'll pick doctors right now, doctors who they don't have a problem, doctors who have a little bit of a problem, doctors who are looking to solve their problem, or doctors who are, you know what, they've heard about this syndication thing. Now they just need to learn about you. All right. Product aware, solution aware, most aware. Yes, you guys, that's the point of this, okay? I spent a lot of time, thinking about my ideal avatar and like, oh, well, I'll just go after number one, all kinds of people. And what I started realizing is that so many people were like, I'm not interested. I'm fine. I'm not interested. I'm fine. What am I doing wrong? Like, you're my ideal avatar. The problem was how I was like approaching it. The problem is how I was wording it. So if I think of my ideal avatar, hey, if you're a doctor who has, money saved up as a 401k and you're looking to reduce what you pay in taxes on your investments, are you aware that you can invest passively in multifamily and solve that problem? So now you're speaking to people. So you're speaking to people who have a problem or are aware of the fact that there is a solution. This is a lot easier conversation to have here than it is to take someone all the way here. Because to convince someone that they have a problem, like, people don't like to be told they have a problem. They really don't. So it's easier if somebody already knows they have a problem. If there's one takeaway, I want you to think about, how am I communicating to my potential investors, and am I speaking to them at the right stage? Because I guarantee you, if you speak to them, if you start speaking to people who are here and here, it is a much easier path. They've already done a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Okay. So I want to present this to you a little bit different way. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. We kind of want to map this journey. Okay. We're gonna map it, and how can we make it easier for you to take advantage of this new knowledge that you have? Okay, so we've already identified the investors. We're going to talk about channels. Okay, channels are, where are the places that you connect with these people? What type of call to action can you give them to get them to that next step? And what are the key metrics that you should really be focused on? Okay, I'm not going to read all the words on the page. You can come back and watch this, or if you really want, I can go ahead and share this with you. We can post it in the Skool community. But what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about these stages of the avatar, the channels to connect with them, the call to action you want to give them, and the metrics. And guys, if you've got questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Even if I don't have time right now, we'll make time to answer those questions at the end. Okay, so what I did is I took this idea and I laid it out in a easy grid, an easy matrix for you to understand. We're going to call this the customer journey. So think of this as one avatar and they're different stages in their journey. So we have unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, most aware. And I like to give a name so you can kind of understand that. So we're going to start with unaware. So someone who is unaware, they're just hanging out. Okay. They're maybe a little bit curious and they have to have, yeah, a little bit curious, but they're not like really motivated. Do a little bit of searching. They're happy with the money they've got. They're already got, their social channels, listening out there to podcasts, maybe go to some networking events. Okay. But they're fine. They're happy as a clam. So what you want to try to do is when you get in front of them, your call to action is follow me for insights, or you're going to say, watch some how-to videos. These are very basic. You don't talk about like what I was saying. You don't talk about IRR. You don't talk about equity multiple. You're just introducing them to the fact that maybe they have a problem. Okay. So if you're going after people who are this stage, what you want to do is introduce the fact that, hey, you don't know this yet, but you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. If you think you're safe by leaving your money in the stock market, you're wrong. Let me show you why. Okay. And what you're doing here, and I'm thinking this more from like a social media perspective, your metrics here are you getting people to watch or click on your videos? Are you getting some follows, likes, or view your videos? Okay. Those are you have to understand, are people even paying attention to you? Because at this point, they're not going to sign up for your newsletter. They're probably not going to sign up for a webinar. You're just like starting to like try to get in front of them and let them know you've got a problem. Then they're going to move over to this problem aware stage. This is where they become frustrated. This is where things begin to unlock for you. Okay. So think of your avatar. This is where they're frustrated. This is where they are starting to search for solutions. They don't know the solutions yet. They're starting to search. So this is where they're going to hop on webinars. They're going to actively be looking for people on socials. They'll be looking for new podcasts, and they're probably going to start talking to their network. Hey, do you have this problem? Brian, can we try to solve this? If you have lead magnets, this is where you're now download my guide to solve this problem. Join my webinar where I'm going to teach you how to solve this problem. And at this stage, what you're looking for is how many people are showing up to my webinars? Are people starting to download my guide? And this is where you're going to have email opt-ins. Okay. Are people starting to get into my email opt-ins? And think of the wording you're using. This is beginning education. Beginning education. You're educating people on new terms. Don't jump into IRR to equity multiple. Okay. Don't do that. Once they're here and they're like, okay, I'm doing and I'm starting to find solutions. Again, this is where you are, you know what? Maybe we can hop on a call. Maybe you can watch another webinar and you've already opted into my emails. You're starting to move them down this path. And if you've got it, have them do like a 15-minute call, maybe a 30-minute call if they're open to it, because they are searching for solutions to their problem. And if you got it, start sharing some case studies, okay? What you want to start tracking is, if this is working, are you starting to get book calls? Are you starting to get people convert? Are you starting to get maybe some early indications of commitments? Yeah, that sounds interesting. I think I'd like to learn more about that. Yes, I'm interested in that. Okay. So we're moving these people along. And then you have people who are, again, product aware. They've been reading your emails. They're following you on social media. They're going to your networking events. You're having conversations with them. They've attended a webinar or two. Hey, join our next webinar. Hop on our live Q&A call. And what you're looking for at this point is, are they sticking around with you? Are you communicating the right way so that they're like, you know what? Like, I like this guy. I like this gal. And they're starting to give you some type of investment amount, some investment rate, and they're starting to be happy with what you're providing. And then the last here is most aware, and this is the evangelist. And this is what really, if you're doing your job right, this is what we're striving for. They're following you on social media. They're reading all your emails. They're starting to advocate for you. Okay. And you might even be able to, I like this podcast, you might even be able to start interviewing them. Okay. So ask for referrals, ask for them to share their story. Referral, are you getting referrals? Are they doing multiple investments? Will they give you a testimonial? Okay. So you can have your ideal avatar who is a doctor, but they're going to have different stages. And that's just it. Okay. You have to understand that. So when you're doing your marketing to people, I want you to think of it like this. Don't go for the kill shot right away. You need to get them in and start nurturing them and providing education and move them along. Because in today's world, like I said, so many people going for the kill shot. If you take the time to educate someone and move them through this, and you are the person that provides all that education, who are they going to choose to invest with? It's going to be you all the time, because most people aren't doing that. And that's really where the difference is. Most people just simply aren't doing that. Oops. All right. So this is where we get to, now that we have all the information, I want to talk to you about this ideal avatar. And what we'll do here in just a minute is I will switch over and I'll show you this custom GPT that's going to answer all this for you. So now that you understand this, like where are they at, the stages of awareness, you're going to have better answers to your questions when you start to think of your avatar. Because the reality of it is you want to be very, very, very specific. So let me share with you my avatar if you haven't heard this before. My ideal avatar is someone who works in corporate America. Specifically, they work in healthcare. More specifically, they work in healthcare administration. They work for like a health insurance companies, and they are director level or above. So they're going to be director, senior director, VP, senior VP, president. Those are the people that I'm looking for. There are people that have worked in their position for at least 10 years. And that's really important because I know if they worked there for 10 years, then they have available funds to invest. Well, maybe not all of them, but director level or above and 10 years or more, they've probably been able to accumulate enough wealth, and then probably to a point where they've maxed out their 401k and they're looking for some type of alternatives. And then the kicker right now is that a lot of like our messaging is honestly around the stock market. Part of our communication strategy of our ideal investor avatar is we don't look for people who are unaware. We like to find people who are aware they have a problem and searching for solutions. So we might say, are you tired of stock market volatility? And this is one that I know very well because I used to work in that space. And the people in that space, a lot of them, the stock value has gone down. You know why the stock value has gone down? Because of the government shutdown and the reduction in funding the government wants to do for the health insurance exchanges. So a lot of these health insurance companies that are providing that level of coverage, their stocks have gone down. The value has gone down because they're just not going to get as much money. So I understand that my avatar is at that point where they're like, ugh, I feel some pain and I'm looking for some type of alternative. So that's like number one in our messaging. And number two in our messaging is learn how to invest passively in apartments, no tenants, no termites, no toilets. What that means is there are also people who've already looked into some type of alternative investment in the real estate space. And because a lot of the people that we speak with that choose to invest with us are those people who are exactly what I've described is they're not interested in the single family stuff. They've heard the nightmares or they dealt with it, or they're not interested in Airbnb because it's really hospitality. That's not long-term rental, that's short-term. You got to be available all the time. Very small margins. They understand that if you just do one single family at a time, your margins are very small and it still takes work. So our messaging, not only do we know who our avatar is, we understand where they're at in their journey. So this worksheet right here is designed to walk you through all of that. And it asks you a whole bunch of questions, okay? To the point where you're like, all right, I can get answers to all of these things. And then you take that and you use it for all of your communication, especially using, AI these days. If you can clearly define who your ideal avatar is, then in a very, very, very clear way, then it makes it really easy to put together lead magnets to share with them because it speaks directly to them, not only the avatar, but where they're at in their journey. It speaks to, you can use that to your social media post. You can use it for lead magnet, for all kinds of things. All right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pause for a moment. If you guys got questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to bring up this custom GPT, this avatar one, and we're gonna kick it off. Probably not going to do the whole thing because this one takes a little while. It's going to ask you a lot of questions, but the way I've set this up is it's going to make it really, really easy for you. Okay. So give me just a moment. I'm going to stop the sharing for a moment, get up this custom GPT. And while I'm doing that, go ahead and drop some comments in the chat. I'm going to try to talk and let's see here. I'm going to try to talk and find this GPT. Give me just a second here. Found it. It's getting loaded up. So how many of you are finding this useful? How many of you are learning a lot today about the stages of awareness is what we call them, the stages of awareness in the customer journey? Because most people, like I said, most people think like I've got my ideal avatar figured out, but do you really have them figured out to where you know, are you talking to him at the right moment in time? So let's get this up. Chat, chat, chat. All right, got this. Got it. All right. And then I'll go check the comments here in just a moment. All right, let me get my screen sharing back up. All right, check the chat really quick. All right, Tim, Jay, Scarlett, Shelly, the boys, Jay, Randall. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so glad this is helpful for you. This is so many times I just spend, I talk more about the mechanics of capital raising, but this is really more like the marketing strategy. So I'm glad you guys are finding this useful. And if you like it, I got way more stuff I can share with you when it comes to marketing strategies, all kinds of great stuff. So if this is helpful for you guys, I will keep it coming. All right, let's talk about this custom GPT we're going to make available for y'all in the Skool community. Like I mentioned last time, I really like to make my custom GPTs that are like really easy to use. Okay, I sometimes you get these custom GPTs and it's like, well, what do I do? So I love to make mine very straightforward. And so this one we're just going to do this. So let's get started. So I told this always walk someone through everything you need and then we'll create this. Okay. So it says, here's what we're going to do together. It says, hey, I'm Ava, the Avatar Guide. I'm here to walk you step by step through creating your ideal investor avatar, a complete profile that'll help you raise capital more effectively, whether it's for a single deal or a diversified fund. Here's what I need to get from you. Investor profile, basic profile, lifestyle background, needs, desires, decision triggers, values, goals, sources. So what's going to happen at the end, it's going to generate a document. And what I was just sharing with you in that slide, all of those things are actually all of those questions where it says, hey, like, what is their occupation? What is their age? How many children do they have? Where do they get their source of information? All of that is going to get answered here. Okay. So all of it, I can share it. I don't mind sharing that presentation with you, but the reality of it is you can just go straight to the GPT. It's going to do all the heavy lifting for you. So because it said at the end, I'm going to create a document for you with all the answers filled in for your ideal customer avatar with an output template plus a step-by-step guide to create your own custom GPT to generate marketing content aligned with its avatar. Sound cool? So you're really just going to go through this step by step, and it's pretty easy. So the first question here, who is your ideal avatar? I'm going to go with A, and it's just going to ask me question by question. Number two, is your ideal avatar new to investing? Okay, this is where we start to say, like, where do we want to pick our avatar? So I'm going to go with B in this case. I want them to be a little bit further down the path. And then it's going to say what motivates your ideal passive investor. So think about the conversation we just had. What is it that really motivates them? And you could put in multiples here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put D, and we're going to keep going through this. And there's a lot of questions here. So we're going to go through this and then it's going to spit out some good information for us. What types of deals are you raising capital for? So for me, I'm doing A and B. Thing's just going to keep going and asking us some questions, targeting specific demographics. I am so B. And at this point, if you wanted to, you could be much more specific, but we're going to go with walk through this, hang out with me. Jay says he can't see. Are you guys seeing my screen? Is everybody else seeing my screen? Yes, Tim sees it. Okay, cool. Physicians, healthcare professionals, do you have any other traits, keywords? It's going to go with risk aware. Got a few more questions here. And then, okay, wraps up step one. Now we're going to go step two. And I'm just going to jam through this, guys, because otherwise it might take us 15, 20 minutes. But it's probably the best time you can spend is actually going through this. Just take your time and go through it. And like that's going to spit out this amazing document for you. We're going to go, what is Dr. Mark Stevens? He's the male. I do encourage you to pick, like, are you going for men or women? We communicate different with them. You can say both if you want, but this is where we're starting to get more specific. He's going to live in California. So I'm just going to kind of jam through this here because I want to get to the point where it spits out the whole document for you. And you'll see, like, now all of a sudden you've got this really good document here. It's very detailed, guys. D. And what's his annual income? We're going to go with B. He's a very wealthy individual. And C. So what I'm going to do here, just to kind of get to the end here, because it's going to want to go to B. Please skip to the last question and build the tar with what you already know. I'm just going to skip through, guys. I don't want you to do this. I want you to take the time to actually do this, but it will create a document here for you. It'll spit this out and then you'll be ready to rock and roll. So while this is generating, I'd like to see some questions in the chat. And maybe this is so much information, you're like, I don't even know what to ask, but that's okay. Maybe you have some questions about your avatar. Maybe you have some questions about the stages of awareness of where people are at. Maybe you got some other questions. So does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask while we're getting this generated for you? Oh, while you're thinking about questions, so like I said, the way we're going to do this is, I think probably most of you are in the Skool community. Is there anybody who's not in the Skool community? Can I see that in the chat? We'll just do that first. If I don't see anybody say no, then I'm going to assume that you're all in the Skool community, because so right now we have a pinned post that's if you're looking for the avatar for the coaching, the coach capital raising coach GPT, it's pinned at the top. We'll probably unpin that. What we'll do is we will say, hey, if you're interested, let us know. We'll send you a link to this. So it looks like most of you in there. So we'll do that. You all have access to the Skool community. We'll do that. Let me ask this. Let me see in the chat. How many of you would like also like a PDF copy? I put coach link me. So Jay, you should have received that well, I don't know how soon you did that, how long ago you did that, but we are monitoring that. And so we'll send you the coach GPT. How many of you, when we send you this GPT, when you put it in, would you also like to get your hands on the slide deck from today? Would that help you at all? Or do you just want to watch the replay? So you can tell me in the chat. Yes, please. Tim. So Tim, I think that means yes, you'd like to get your hands on the slide deck as well today. All right. So what we'll do is, I think we can do this. We can add this as an attachment. I'll have to check with my team on this. I think we can add the slide deck as an attachment to the post, and then you'll have it there, and then go ahead and comment avatar, and then we'll give you the link to the customer avatar. So here, what we've got is now it's answered all of those questions for me. And the other thing I can do is, let me close this. Please provide this to me in a text output so I can make my own. Okay, so it'll just pump everything out into into text for you. But the idea here is that it's actually going to force you to take the time to really think about who your avatar is and where they're at in their journey. And I want you to really think about this, okay? So we gave this person a name. And that might sound a little bit funny to you, but I really think that's important, because when you're thinking about your conversation and what you're putting together, you should ask yourself something. Is this something that Mark would be interested in this case? Okay. Would Mark be interested in this? Would Mark invest in this? Would this solve Mark's problems? Because if you understand that person so well that you can say, does this solve Mark's problems? Is this what Mark's looking for? Does this resonate with Mark? That means you actually have a really good understanding of your avatar. Okay. So I'm going to encourage you to give your avatar a name. And then, as funny as it sounds, ask yourself, would Mark invest in this deal? Mark wouldn't, then you're probably looking at the wrong deal, because so many times we try to like appeal to everybody when it comes to marketing. And by doing that, you actually resonate with nobody. Okay. So here you go. You got this thing also in another document. So you could take this to a custom GPT prompt if you want, but if you don't have that, don't worry about it. But now you have something you could easily take and load up into another instance of Chat GPT, or even take this one and say, hey, create some social media posts for me. Let me just try it here. Can you create, how about let's do this. Give me 10 ideas for lead magnets for this ideal avatar. All right. So I get a lot of people saying, yep, everybody wants a slide deck. All right. So check it out. So now that we know our avatar, now we've got lead magnets. Okay. We're going to do this. I'm going to do another one here. Give me 10 ideas for webinars for this avatar. Because now I've got lead magnets, so I can now go build lead magnets. You do video series. There's a passive income real estate deal analyzer, free physician's guide to year-end tax strategies. So now that it knows your avatar, it can just help you create the rest of this stuff, right? Here's 10 webinar ideas that will talk to Mark specifically. Okay. So guys, a lot of information. We got a few minutes left. I always like to leave time for questions if you got them. I'm going to stop the share. We will get this. Give me a little bit of time. I got to hop into another call. Give me a little bit of time. We'll get a post out there. We'll get the PDF available for you, and we'll get the GPT available for you before the end of the day, as well as a replay for you. Okay. So you all said this was very helpful. I have lots of other fun trainings that I can do, specifically on, just more like of a marketing and sales when it comes to raising capital. Like I said, I think that's where a lot of people really miss the mark. So questions, guys, you got any questions about what we presented today? Any feedback, any comments? I'm open. What can we do? Maybe you've got some other topics you want to learn about. Share some information with me in the chat. I do this for you guys to help you guys figure out how to raise capital. So you got some good conversation in the chat today. I really appreciate it, everyone. The boys, absolutely. Thanks for sharing your time and information. You got it, man. I wish somebody was around sharing this type of information with me when I was learning how to raise capital. All right. Any other? Yeah. Thank you. It's been great. Agree about marketing. Much appreciated. You guys got it. You got it. You got it. Okay. So I think one of the things we want to do next week, because we talked about this as well, is what we can do is we have another app, custom GPT that is also going to help you all out. We've talked before about how we use LinkedIn, and we like to use LinkedIn, and we have those conversations and post on LinkedIn. But another tool from our toolbox that we talked about sharing with you is a custom GPT that'll help you actually have conversations with people in LinkedIn. And so what we can do next week, if you guys are open to it, we can actually go a little bit deeper into the conversations we have in LinkedIn and how we actually have those conversations. Guess what? Using a custom GPT that analyzes the conversations and spits out a lot of the next step. You guys open to that? I'm getting some yeses. Okay, so my team is on. That's what we're going to do next week. We're going to talk about using, talk about LinkedIn. We're going to dive deeper into LinkedIn and how we use AI, custom GPT, a lot of it on how to have those conversations. All right, guys. So give us a little bit of time. We'll get the replay available. We will get the slide deck available for you, and we'll get that custom GPT available for you. So look for all of that in a pinned post in the Skool community. Be engaged, participate in the community. The community is there for y'all, and we will chat again next week. Oh, you know what? Really quick, before we hop off, we tried, for everybody that's here, we tried at the beginning of this, we did a live, we went live in Skool. We had one person join, so we opened up Zoom, and then we saw everybody go into Zoom. Is Zoom just easier for you? Because if it is, we won't even do the Skool thing. So I either want to type in Skool or Zoom, and let me know. Zoom. Okay, Jay says Zoom. You guys want to keep doing Zoom? Keep doing Zoom? Okay, easy. All right, team, now we know. Don't try to do a go live in Skool. We'll just stick with Zoom, okay? Appreciate the feedback, guys. Have a great weekend, and I will chat with you all next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.